said the very simple fact that we're not going to know exactly who gets this money. I know that there was this testimony inside of the United States Congress in which they said that there's really no rules behind what's going to happen.
What's up, my friends? I was on CNN this weekend to debate a lot of things, and one of them being the absolute theft of your money that's going on in Washington. I don't know if you guys saw, but Trump wants to use $1.8 billion of your money to divvy it out to payments to people that did what they did on January 6th. Like, I'm talking to people like Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. I'm talking about people like Tina Peters, that animal that Jared Polis just reduced her sentence in Colorado. Absolute scum of the earth people. Like, really violent, tried to overthrow the presidential election. Trump wants to give them the money that you work for. I want you to watch this debate.
I mean, I back on that a little bit. What you call the slush fund, I find to call the anti-weaponization fund. And I'm sure on both sides of the aisle, we all have friends whose lives have been absolutely ruined, whether they were innocent. And you said this is going to people who assaulted police officers on January 6th. It could. But the truth is, we don't know where this money's going yet. And I feel like we're always prematurely just very negative when it comes to anything that President Trump wants to do. But I view this as something very altruistic. Trump did not take the money and put it in his pocket like he could have, and like most people probably have done. And instead, he wants to help those people who were absolutely destroyed by the weaponization of the government. I have friends who declared bankruptcy over proving they're innocent, that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, some millions, to avoid spending time in jail, and they don't get that money back. Why can't we help those people?
Well, therein lies the root of the problem. You just said the very simple fact that we're not going to know exactly who gets this money. I know that there was this testimony inside of the United States Congress in which they said that there's really no rules behind what's going to happen. So I think that it's absolutely absurd that there's going to be a fund that's $1.8 billion. We don't know where the money's going to go through.
Yes.
And honestly, we don't know if we'll ever know who the money's going to go to. You don't think that that's absurd? That
like
the president of the United States can create a fund and divvy payments to people and we don't know who the money goes to?
I mean, we know that it's going to have been weaponized by the government. Now, whether that goes to, like you said, January 6th protesters or people like James Comey, who I find is guilty, we don't know yet. So why don't we wait and see if you're outrageous?
Going to give James Comey a payout for wrongful prosecution as they're trying to prosecute him. That doesn't seem like.
But that is the root of the issue. The root of the issue is that we will never know.
People in this country who have been wronged by the law
that's what they said.
Have legal pathways to seek justice for that. And you know what you said, Trump could have money. No, he can't just take the money because we live in a. Yes, because I mean,
I want to ask you because you were saying Trump didn't benefit. What about this piece? This other piece
settlement with himself
about the
that he negotiated with himself.
Settle that.
He is the government.
But I want to ask about the IRS not being able to prosecute him or his family over taxes forever. What do you think about that?
Obviously, optically, it looks horrendous. I think anybody can.
Because it is horrendous.
Anyone can admit that. But there's also an unprecedented amount of persecution when it comes to the Trump and the Trump family. There has never been a president that has been persecuted as much as Donald Trump, whether it's legally releasing his IRS, which I'm happy he's sitting 5 years in jail because that would never be tolerated under anyone else. But it's just the target on President Trump. Personally, it's outrageous.
Jeff Bezos also had his tax returns legally released.
And that's
so should
also
he be entitled to $2 billion? Where does this stop?
If he wants to sue, he absolutely has the right to.
So are we going to say that for every single person that they should all be entitled to $2 billion?
They have the right to sue, but I also think.
But none of them or the president of the United States can negotiate with themselves.
But them and the president, to me, have equal treatment. If Bezos wants
equal
to sue,
treatment. It's the president of the United States that's negotiating his own settlement.
Well, and let's keep in mind, guys, there is in this moment in the country, there is real financial and economic hardship right now. People's healthcare costs are going up. Inflation, gas prices are between $5 and $6 a gallon. Is this the best use of government resources? I don't know any conservative who could argue that this is how we should be using this money.
And here's the context. This is a pattern of the President of the United States pilfering from the national coffers to serve his own political and personal ends. We have the Board of Peace, billions of dollars of taxpayer money without any congressional authorization or oversight. You know, you've got all of the stock trades that he's made, stock trades on issues that he's adjudicating. This is a level of self-dealing and corruption that no one has seen before. And you have to view this slush fund in that context because
if there was
it's obvious that he's doing it for political reasons and that the lawsuit against the IRS was a sham lawsuit that was never moving forward anyway.
I'm just going to say
it was just a thinly veiled excuse to pay off his own political benefactors.
If President Obama sued his own department, his own IRS, and settled with himself, I guarantee you that you and every conservative on Fox would be running around screaming for impeachment. You guys would be trying to throw him in alligator Alcatraz.
Actually, one thing I will pat myself on the back for is I know when something is wrong or not. I'm not the person that's like, oh, every Democrat's wrong and every Republican's right. That's something that you can generalize. If that happened to Obama, by the way, anyone who is wronged, the law is the same, whether you're the president or not.
But
if somebody did leak Obama's tax
why can't we?
He's negotiating with himself. No one else has that ability. You cannot compare him to other billionaires, to other people, to other people
who have not been as
he's the one that did his own settlement.
If we could just get a commitment from the administration that not a single dollar would go to somebody who assaulted a police officer,
I agree
we could begin a conversation. Maybe I still wouldn't support it, but some Republicans in the Senate might. But we couldn't even get that from the Deputy Attorney General. A commitment that leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers might not get $1 million settlements to then what, fund domestic terrorism?
And then, Alyssa, we also won't get the names of the people at all.
Correct.
So we'll never be able to verify anything.
There's not a lot of transparency.
There's a lot.
I mean, these Republicans will defend anything, will they? I mean, seriously, if his name on it, I mean, they will guarantee there will be some Republican marching out to defend everything he says. I want you to put this in context. You go to work every single day. You got to deal with all kind of crazy people at work. You got to deal with that cockeyed coworker that talks stupid to you. You got to go and sit through traffic. You got to work overtime in some instances. Many times you got to work outside. You got all these things going on in your life. And the money that you went to work for today and last week and the day before that is now going into an account to pay people cash, cold green cash in their pockets that tried to overthrow an election. Think about how anti-America that is. I mean, these Republicans raised our prices. They have us paying $5. They got us in a dumb war that none of us wanted it to be in the first place. They've got inflation going through the roof. Unemployment is sky high. Trump just said that he had no money, childcare in America. But these idiots can put $1.8 billion in a slush fund to give to actual terrorists? I guarantee you that SNL couldn't have come up with better. If somebody would have said 15 years ago that there'd be a slush for terrorists from President Donald Trump, nobody would have believed it. This is absolutely absurd. But this is what I'm talking about when I say outright corruption. And this person that I was debating, she had no clue what she was talking about. None of it made any sense. But the fact that these people come on here with a straight face in front of millions of people on national television tells you how absurd these people are. The only way you can get rid of this stuff is to get these people out. You got to vote them out. That's why I say, guys, there's really no such thing as like the moderate Republican in Congress. You know, some people might give me flack for that, but you know what? I'm in business here. Because every single time these Republicans go and follow behind the marching orders of Donald Trump, every time they might say they're concerned or whatever. When the going gets tough, what do? They fall in line. So look, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this slush fund. We'll see if now that a couple of them have lost their seats, have lost power, maybe they'll grow an ounce of a spine. We'll see. But the very simple fact that you need to know, the Republican Party supports stealing your money and putting it in the pockets of terrorists. And that was a point I made on CNN. Anyways, this was really great. As always, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys for always watching, and I'll see you soon.
For every camel's back, there is always a final straw, and President Donald Trump's massive problem at the end of this American week is that Republicans on Capitol Hill have suddenly had enough. After bending to his will consistently over the last 16 months, after allowing him to ride roughshod over their constitutionally guaranteed role as a third co-equal branch of government here, after watching him lay waste to the checks and balances that are supposed to serve as guardrails against this country ever becoming a dictatorship, finally they have found just a teeny little bit of spine. Unfortunately for America, it may have come too late.
This isn't unusual in any way, shape, or form. It's unusual because it involves President Trump and it involves the Department of Justice. But beyond that, the fact that the IRS is settling a case and not moving forward with an audit is not unusual.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who just happens to be Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, on CNN trying to justify the utterly unjustifiable. To understand the scale of the venality that is underway here, we have to spin back in time to the halcyon days of September 2016.
I've been under audit almost for 15 years. I know a lot of wealthy people that have never been audited. I said, do you get audited? I get audited almost every year. And in a way, I should be complaining. I'm not even complaining. I don't mind it. It's almost become a way of life. I get audited by the IRS.
Blimey, he sounded young there. Donald Trump in a presidential debate with Hillary Clinton, insisting that much as he would love to let the American people see his tax returns, he could not do it because he was under audit by the IRS, America's equivalent of HMRC. Well, eventually some of those tax returns were leaked to the press by an IRS contractor. The leaker broke the law and he was sent to jail. But once the president returned to power last year, he sued the very government he leads for $10 billion over the leak of the documents back in 2017. And follow me here, because this is where the corruption allegations begin. He appointed Mr. Blanche, his former personal lawyer, to lead the very Department of Justice that, under Trump's aegis, is of course no longer independent of the White House. And this week, to the possible $100 million personal advantage for Trump, his family and his businesses, the Justice Department, and let me remind you, it's led by his former personal lawyer, agreed to grant the president, his sons and his businesses total immunity for any past tax offences they may have committed. And that was just the tip of the iceberg.
The Justice Department has now set up a fund paid for in taxpayer money, $1.8 billion, what the president calls an anti-weaponization fund to compensate Trump allies, including the rioters on January 6th.
Tom, this is an extraordinary legal drama that involves the president dropping his multiple lawsuits against the federal government. But in exchange, the Trump administration today created what it calls an anti-weaponization fund, using more than $1.7 billion of taxpayer money that could pay out compensation to Trump allies.
Now, I know this is complex, so let me put it in British terms. Imagine a Prime Minister suing HMRC for £10 million over the leak of a couple of documents, then putting the arm on his own Justice Secretary to settle the case by providing the Prime Minister with permanent immunity against any investigation into his family's past tax affairs, and forcing the Justice Secretary also to come up with a couple of billion quid of your money to pay the Prime Minister's mates, many of whom have previously been jailed for GBH after breaking into Parliament, running amok and trying to launch a coup. And not covering any of this up, by the way, but doing it all in plain sight. Couldn't happen there, at least not yet. But even here, it's proving to be a step too far.
Congressman, what do you make of this $1.7 billion fund for
bad news? We're going to try to kill it.
Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, a Republican from Pennsylvania who, like every other member of the House of Representatives, is up for re-election in just 5 months. He knows this fund is going to be a disaster for his hopes of returning to office. So he's now launched a bill aimed at derailing his own president's self-dealing and overturning the immunity that Trump has effectively granted himself against investigation of his past tax affairs.
We're trying to unpack exactly, what the legal machinations are, but can't do that.
Right. And have you ever heard of any other Americans, other than Trump associates?
I haven't.
Who are unauditable by the IRS?
I've never heard that before.
Okay. So would that be part of the legislative?
Of course. Yeah, you can't do that.
At the other end of Capitol Hill, the Senate, there was also uproar. More than 2 Republicans confronted the acting Attorney General in a furious 2-hour meeting on Thursday. One of them, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina.
I think it's stupid on stilts.
Why?
Because it will invariably put us in a position where your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars could potentially compensate someone who assaulted a police officer, admitted their guilt, got convicted, got pardoned, and now we're going to pay them for that? That's absurd. We're going to reject this out of hand.
Worse even than that, the acting Attorney General was not even able to say this week that one January the 6th rioter who was pardoned, then jailed again in Texas for life on fresh charges of child molesting, would be ineligible for a payout from the weaponization fund. Meanwhile, the president, accused by his own lawmakers of being stupid on stilts, is very much still walking around on them, repeating his claims that the Biden administration weaponized justice.
What they did in terms of weaponization will never be allowed to happen in this country again. So we think that those people, we think that anybody involved in that process should partake. And you're talking about peanuts compared to the value. It destroyed the people.
Now, if you're wondering why the Republicans have suddenly discovered a bit of backbone, allow me to explain. Trump this week has engaged in a fresh purge of elected Republicans who have crossed him. He's taken down some big names while also demonstrating the stranglehold he still enjoys over his Make America Great Again followers. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, he voted to impeach Trump on incitement to insurrection charges 5 years ago. And Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, he accuses the White House of covering up the president's ties to Jeffrey Epstein and vigorously criticizes the war on Iran. Both of them lost primary challenges this week after Trump decreed their deselection. Now he's trying to do the same to another senator, John Cornyn of Texas. These are moves that infuriate and terrify Republicans in Congress. They worry that by endorsing America First mini-me's in states across the country, Trump is going to deliver control of Congress into the hands of the Democrats in November. And there were other events this week that led to further thoughts about whether the president is perhaps going overboard with the Dr. Evil routine.
I want to take a look at the complexity. These are all different rooms down here. They're building a hospital. It's a military hospital.
President Trump on Tuesday giving reporters a tour of the busy and noisy White House construction site where he is building, well, not, it turns out, only a ballroom.
And the ballroom is really a shield and protecting all of the things that are built here.
The ballroom is really a shield, it turns out, for a massive, impenetrable military fortress. He has dug 6 stories below ground and plans to equip the facility with state-of-the-art munitions and an on-site military force. They'll have a hospital down there, secure communications rooms, a scientific research lab, which seems odd given this administration's complete antipathy towards science. Above ground, the Secret Service and the military will be given a new promontory from where they will enjoy 360-degree views of the entire city laid out before them. A titanium fence is going to surround a complex that will be equipped with anti-drone technology and snipers' nests, just in case the White House ever comes under attack. The more he talked, the more it sounded like he is building exactly the kind of compound in which a president who one day decides not to leave power could hole himself up, protected by loyal members of the military.
What you don't see are the floors that are beneath here, and they have very, very important rooms down there, the most important. And this was the one opportunity for the military to do something. And we're right on budget. We're right on. The only budget change would be that we doubled the size. At the request of the military, we doubled the size.
Oh, you just doubled the size. It was only supposed to be 3 stories below ground, but you just kept digging? It's all right. We've all done it. But all that guff about him and his mates paying for everything and the facility not costing the taxpayer a penny is nonsense. He now wants $1 billion in public money to construct a James Bond-style lair that he or any of his successors could use for who knows what.